Okay, I'm excited about this one. I've been waiting for a while to do it because I want to do it right. This is for my product managers. And while I am not a product manager by trade, I sort of am by default at Resolution, but I am historically a product marketing person, which means I spend a lot of time hanging out with PMs and looking at their data with them and figuring out how much of the problem is my fault and how much of the problem is their fault, and really that all of it is engineering's fault. Kidding. And so I'm pretty familiar with the day to day grit and grind of PMing, and particularly what those folks have to communicate to other departments and other people in an organization about whatever their goals are. So one thing they tend to look at a lot is stuff like this, right? So now again, lots of PMs have super granular data. They can slice and dice and get all the individual users and all of them cross-index things. But for a lot of folks, there is some sort of high-level thing they ultimately get that says, look, for our product, for this sort of process that we're tracking, which defines success of the product, or the part of the portion of success that I'm responsible for, here's how we're doing. And what you're looking at, if you're not a PM or not into this kind of thing normally, is this is just a funnel of sort of a behavioral funnel. And so in this case, it's for kind of a stereotypical 2023 piece of creative software where we'd say, look, a certain number of people look at this, a certain smaller subset of those people sign up, and then there are smaller subsets for people who actually create something with the product, people who save whatever they create with the product, and then finally people who share what they create with someone else. The goal being, let's get people to share because, this isn't crazy, but let's say we have data that says sharers are less likely to churn or more likely to upgrade and pay or advocate for the product or whatever. My sort of PM goal is to create people who share with this software, and this is how that's going. And so what I have to do is communicate to other departments, maybe the marketing department, maybe management, maybe engineering, what I want to do to move these rates and why I want to do that and how that's ultimately going to help us reach our goals. And so one thing you'll notice is missing here. First of all, rates are missing, but that's just I didn't make this particularly well, so whatever. But more importantly, there's no you're not manipulating this data. Like this comes out to you. I can't say, well, what if? It doesn't do that, right? If I said, what if signups were greater, this would just make the chart fatter. Cool, I guess, because there's no rates attached to this. So, and this is true of a lot of things that get spat out by reports. I just tell you the answer. They don't let you play with it. So one place a lot of PMs and other people dealing with data go to do this is their own little canvas, which is in a spreadsheet. And so I have that here. Now, because this is a spreadsheet, I've got really two spreadsheets baked into one. I have one set up where the rates are calculated based on the number of people in different stages. So I can say, well, what if I had, more people in this stage and you watch the rate next to it and the rates will change. Okay, cool. This is a what if. I can literally say, what if the number of creators was greater? What would the rates be? Okay, there you go. Then at the bottom, I have what's probably more useful, but you'll see they're both pretty useful in the end, where I can actually type in the rates and then it'll spit out what would happen as a result. But this is pretty limited. And one of the reasons it's limited is that it's going to tell you exactly what happens based solely on how you did the actual calculations. So let me give you a real world, for instance, so you can sort of see. Let's say we look at this rate of signups and we say, this is a very high rate of signups. Maybe we're targeting a really highly qualified audience and that audience is finite. Whatever. We need to prepare for a lower rate of signups. So what I would like to do is raise some of our rates further in the funnel and see how much we need to raise them to make up for a lower rate here. If you were to do that here and say, well, here's 65 instead, all these rates will change because they're further down the funnel. But then when you change the sharing rate and you say, what happens if I increase the sharing rate? Watch how many numbers change. 1. It doesn't take any pressure off these other numbers. It doesn't lower these rates. It just increases this because that's how all this stuff is calculated. None of this stuff is calculated based on what's down here. And that's not wrong, But that makes a spreadsheet built the way that almost anybody would build it, as simply as possible, a really narrow tool for what if scenarios, because it only gives you this one very specific flavor of the what if of the outcome based solely on how you structured the spreadsheet. Which again, if you structure it in a super normal way, you're only going to get one type of thing. PMs deal with this every day. Lots of people deal with this every day. My point is that you don't really have to. You could do something like what we have in resolution. And you could say, listen, I'm going to put in these numbers. In fact, let me go get them. I'm going to put these numbers in, and we're going to see what happens. First of all, the rates are going to auto-calculate, which is great. We're going to leave everything unlocked, and we're going to say, first of all, we've got, okay. Oop, too many. Okay, and then we've got our smaller segment of signups. Okay, and then we have our smaller segment of creators, which is down to, I think, 420,000. Now our savers. See, our rates are populating, and as we add these values, they're auto-locking, so they don't get adjusted yet. We'll unlock them in a minute. But this is great for when you're trying to put your data in. It doesn't keep changing on you. And the last one was what? 25,200. Okay. All right. So now we've got our scenario, and our numbers are all locked, so they won't change. But we want them to change, because what we have now is not only all of our data sort of spat out in a similar way to this, except it has rates, but we also have a what-if machine that's super flexible, way more flexible than that spreadsheet we had. And first of all, that doesn't take two different models to do it. So we could come in and say, all right, let's unlock everything. Everything's on the table. And I would like to get 75,000 shares. That is our company goal. What's it going to take? Okay. That is, like we saw in the spreadsheet, that is one possible way to do it. Now, this way takes into account everything, but it's still just one possible way. But in resolution, you have the ability to access all of the possible ways. So for instance, you could say, right, but don't change sign up, and don't change save rate, and top of funnel probably should stay the same. Okay, cool. Let's do it. And then you look and you say, actually, this creation rate is not realistic. It's at best it's 70. Okay, it's going to put it all in the share rate. And then you say, well, honestly, this share rate is more like 15. And it goes, no, you can't do that, because you've said you want to have 75,000 shares and you've locked all these rates and the top of the funnel. And you go, okay, this is not a plausible plan. All these rates are too high. To get to my outcome, I'm going to have to unlock visitors. All right, unlock visitors. Try again. 15. We need for another 1 million visitors to do this. And you can get to this plan, and you can poke at it, and you can try things, and you can save and share this and go through this work without these sort of nonsensical spreadsheet things that, again, this one's pretty simple, but it's still completely arbitrary. I did it the way I wanted to do it, as opposed to something like this where the logic of your calculations is inherent in just what you're looking at. So that's why I think PMs should take a look at this kind of stuff. I know you do this work. Don't tell me you don't do it. I live with the PM. I know what you have to do on the weekend. So check it out. It's super cool. And I'm going to save this and some other PM type models on the website.